Road. So I'm really excited to begin what was the theme for this month. I wanted to take the last couple of weeks to make sure we felt really consolidated, to do a little bit of the skills training to start the momentum of those practices. But we're this next couple of weeks and maybe next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to explore how we can work with our dreams and lucid dreaming in the context of exploring our relationships. And no surprises, I'm sure, for all of you here who are so attuned and reflective, but the pathway into our relationships, into transforming our connections with people, our intimacy with people, our expression with people, of course, is it's always a solo job, It's a funny one. But I also want to appreciate first that, we've been on quite a journey. This is week 8, well, call 8, so week 11, and with the amount of different techniques we've been layering in to just take some time today to answer your incredible questions that you sent through. So, for all of you who sent your questions, and thank you so much. I think it represents a very good spread of inquiry. And I think for most of us here, these questions are super relevant. These are still questions that I engage with for my own practice. And so we're going to start with that. And then once we've kind of had a bit of consolidation time, we'll move into an exploration of the theme around relationships. I also just want to say that, please, as you're continuing on, don't, if you ever want to ask a question about something before, please feel free to. I talked at the beginning of this container about how like our learning is going to be spiral. It's not going to be linear. So for instance, you might be experiencing in, I don't know, month 4, a question or insight around like, oh, that's how I bring my bodhisattva self into the world. Or, oh, wow, that's where the compassion response is helpful, or have questions around it. So please don't feel like you have to stay strictly tethered to what we're learning. You're always welcome to ask questions or send questions around that. But first, I have your questions. I don't have everyone's names because I made it anonymous. So here's what I want to offer you. If I am addressing your question and you know it's your question and you want to claim your question, please feel free to just write in the chat like, "Oh, that's my question," in case there are any kind of clarifying comments you want to make. But, I first wanted to start with, I think it's one of the most obvious and most asked questions that so many of us experience. And for those who submitted this question, I hope that first of all, just having the sense of solidarity that it's not just you, you're not the only one having this experience can help. And the question is just simply put that a few people ask it in different ways, but it boils down to the idea of, there's a feeling of I've had one brief lucid dream. I couldn't control the dream in any way. I'm becoming discouraged. Any suggestions, right? And I think, this is a much bigger question for all of us to sit in if we're going to do this practice. Lucid dreaming is, in some ways, sets us up to fail because the name itself is so outcome dependent, right? Lucid dreaming. We're getting lucid in our dreams. And so the feeling when we're doing a practice and we're working towards or building this kind of these practices of lucidity, of awareness, of dream relationship, if we're not getting lucid, we can feel like we're failing. And so I think it's just super important from the outset to realize that even though there is this great desire and interest in having a specific outcome, we have to work skillfully with that outcome dependence because what it can do, of course, is just it can undermine our enthusiasm. It can make us feel we're not doing it right, I'm failing. And then we go into these sort of unsupportive spirals. So a lot of this has to do with how we hold it as a frame. Like what is the frame of how you approach anything important in your life? And this comes down to your motivation. So for instance, if you are doing lucid dreaming because you want quick results and outcome and you want to have this big experience, go do psychedelics, right? I always say to people like if you want to have a big altered experience, but you don't feel like you have the patience to hold like the journey of working internally to create that, which can take time, then take psychedelics, right? Because you can go take a psychedelic, have a big experience. So I think it's like checking in with our motivation. And I know pretty much everyone here, I've read your motivations. The truth is, none of you are actually really doing that. Most of us here are committed to and wanting to work on transforming the inner landscape of our psyches, of our emotions, of our habits. And I love, Andrew, of course, gives this, it's still my favorite metaphor about this, where he talks about the boiling pot. And I'm sure you've heard this, but I tell myself this all the time, so I'll repeat it for us here. The idea that when we're working with something like lucid dreaming, if you think about lucidity as being the pot of water boiling, getting the pot of water boiling, each of us here are working with a different size pot, a different amount of water, and then also a different heat of flame, right? And the pot of water, the amount of water is really, you can think about that as our karmic and habitual momentum. And so appreciating that we're all coming into this with a different kind of pre-created set of conditions. And for some of us, that means that it requires more time or more heat. But just trusting that, like, if you continue to put enough heat on water, it will boil. Now, where we have a pocket of agency, right? Because this is relationship. We're in a relationship with all of this. Some of it is surrender. Some of it's like, okay, I have a big pot, or I've got a lot of water, or whatever. But we do have agency over how we show up, which is the effort, which here will be the fire. And so the choice here is like, if I said boil the pot, but you put the fire on for 2 minutes, but then you turned it off because it wasn't working, but then you came back and put it on for a minute again, then you turned it off again, would it boil? No, right? And so here, this is where we have to build a sense of trust in cause and effect over time and go, listen, if I show up with an open heart and I do these practices because I know that they're working on me, even if I can't see the water boiling yet, there are these changes happening. It's recomposing before it pops and boils. And you can keep the flame on consistently. You don't overburn yourself out. You just keep it. It will boil. And so I think for all of us, it requires a greater holding of patience and curiosity. And that's why I say to you with these practices, make it playful. So if you're finding that you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling disappointed, then make some adaptations to your practice so it doesn't feel like you're like doing hard work and nothing's happening, right? Thinking to yourself, okay, well, how can I inject some curiosity back into this? How can I take the emphasis off lucidity for a moment and then and maybe be more joyful, thankful, and connected to what dreams are coming up? Maybe there's something in your waking state you need to do to bring a little bit more brightness, lucidity, and playfulness in your life. So that's one part, which is like the way that we're holding it. And for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I have a very strong belief that when we die, we just keep going, right? What is that great quote? What reincarnates our bad habits? I, I feel that. I feel that there is this momentum of how we continue after death. And I always had this feeling of like, I remember when I was younger and I was very, I was I had very intense depressive episodes. And I remember when I realized that, committing suicide wouldn't get me out of it. I remember thinking like, if I die, even if I did this, there is no out of this. Like this is samsara. Like there is no out except for to transform. If you feel that and you believe that, if you can see that in your life, like there's no getting out of the habit of your mind, then where are you going? Where's the impatience? We have time. We have lifetimes. And so holding these practices as like, wow, I get the opportunity to continue to do this, to elevate both my waking state experiences, to keep bringing degrees of consciousness to my mind, to brighten up my dreams, to connect the states together. So seeing this as a process, a process commitment, not an outcome commitment. So that's the one part of it. And then I would just say the other half, of course, is skillful means. And I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh, it's just not working, da da da. But if I look through their practice, they share what they're actually doing. I'm like, but you're not doing the practices, right? Or if you're doing them with like a grumpy attitude, which I can do, where you're like, bloody dream journaling. And so I would also invite you, if you're feeling a little stuck, check in with like the frame. Do you feel relaxed, open, curious, patient? And then also just check, are you doing the practices? If you're really honest with yourself and you look and you go, am I really feeling excited and committed and doing that? And we'll talk a little bit about like how to do that amongst a busy life later. But that's how I would check it. And I say this is how I do it for myself. When I'm experiencing a lucid dreaming drought, which happens, sometimes I'll go months, even though I'm practicing, right? I first of all check in, am I really in an open, receptive, relational, curious, patient state? And am I actually doing my practices? So these are the checks I do for myself. I want to spend a little bit more time on that because it was just all of us as practitioners will bump up against this multiple times. It's part of the journey, I have to say. All right, so then on to some of the other great questions. So this one here about fear. So the question is, I want to explore fear further. Since October, I've had three genuinely terrifying non-lucid dreams, but the source of the terror never shows itself. I wake up right on the cusp of it revealing, and once I was partially slid back into the dream and specifically asked to see my fear, but there was no response. So suggestions on how to work with this fear, how to dissolve this block. Yeah. And again, fear is such a powerful part of this path as we go into the nocturnal practices. So with fear, if you are dealing with, and there's another great question here I want to address, which is similar, around nightmares. So if someone is having a recurring nightmare, being able to get lucid and use the ACR, but still it's repeating and not being able to get out of that loop. So when we have like the repeated presentation of fear in a dream, whether it's in a non-lucid dream or a recurring lucid dream, the question we have to ask ourselves always is, if fear, what is the fear a symptom of? Right? Like Andrew will always say that fear is the emotional affect of ignorance. I think that's definitely like at a kind of greater cosmological level, I think that's true. But for us personally in our relative psyches, it can be really helpful to go, okay, what is it that I might be needing to do in order to be with and feel and embrace the fear so that it transforms? So especially with recurring dreams, like let's take the one where it's the non-lucid dream. I would give you two techniques to work here. Rewriting the nightmare. So thinking to whatever that kind of pattern is, right? Normally it'll be thematic. Someone's chasing you, or it's, a terrible situation, you're losing a loved one. So whatever the theme of that fear is, create 20 minutes in your life to sit down, reread those journal entries, connect into energy, and then literally using the imaginal capacities. So turning on the dreaming mind and waking state, go into that experience and then rewrite the ending. And it could be through great ways to do this is to ask, like, to be able to turn to the fear and say, who are you? What do you need? How can I support you? Or to imagine that when you turn around and face it, it just opens and tells you, or it dissolves into light. Rewriting the endings are a type of rehearsal that break the pattern. We can do this with any nightmares, right? I think I told you guys already, like I used to have nightmares where I was always losing my teeth. So I went and I learned all about the 24/7 dentists. And now in my dream, this is a long time ago, in my dreams, every time I lost a tooth, it was fine. I was able to resolve it in the dream because I had these new techniques. Such a rudimentary form, but you can do an emotional version. So rewrite your nightmare in rehearsal and watch how that impacts the next time you dream. Especially if you start asking things like, I'd love to understand you. Tell me who you are. What do you represent? Now, for the person who's having the lucid dream, so you're having this nightmare experience, you're getting lucid, you've been using your compassion response to integrate it, but it sounds like the dream keeps coming back. That to me says there's something it wants you to understand, right? And so this is where we get into like, I love this. This would be like the next level of how you work with a shadow or a nightmare figure in a lucid dream. You get lucid in a nightmare, you see and recognize what's happening. At this point, instead of just going straight for the compassion response to integrate them, like if you're finding that's not working, if you feel confident enough, then what I would do is I would turn around to them and I would engage with them. If they're hostile, this is the difference. Like let's say, good example, my zombies. So if I would turn around to my zombies and if they were still coming at me and trying to eat me, which happened, you need to hold yourself in a lucid, calibrated, calm, loving state until they change, because they will. The nightmare figures, if you respond differently to them, they will stop attacking you. And but you have to hold that, right? And this is where I would use the compassion response for myself. So not necessarily trying to like hug them and integrate them, but there's a nightmare, I get lucid, I see what's happening. Whew. I use the response, thank you, forgive me, sorry, love you, sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. I use the response to calibrate myself. I allow them to do what they're doing. And then when I notice that they calm down, this is where you're going to, instead of just like jumping to integration, what do you represent? How can I help you? What do you need from me? Right? So, seeing these nightmare figures as these aspects of yourself, which they are, you're going to get really curious about what it is that they're wanting you to see. So, anything where there's like a recurring element, it tends to be the mind being like, has a message. It's something that just wants like it's like some part of you being like, I'd like to let you know something, right? So working with the with your recurring fear elements as undelivered messages. If it keeps coming back, there's a message we haven't got yet. Curiosity, openness, love, inquiry, presence for any of the fear. To prepare for that, remember we did with the fear practices, to prepare to be able to do that, use your compassion response during the day. It's really important. Practice so that you feel really prepared and calibrated in the moment to be able to face what's there. If you find the dream's not responding, do those practices during the day. Rewrite the nightmares, do those inquiries and see how it impacts it. Super, super cool. Um, oh, 27 days. Sorry, Agata. 20. What I meant was I researched that there were 24-hour, 24/7 dentists. Like there are emergency dentists that no matter what happens, there are emergency dentists that you can go to and they'll fix your teeth. And when I researched that, these nightmares where I'd be like losing all my teeth at 3 in the morning, I'd be like, it's no problem. I'll keep my teeth and go to the dentist. Not lucid, right? This is a non-lucid dream. But by rewriting your nightmares, even non-lucidly, you create these new pathways of like, ah, when this happens, when this scary thing happens, this is actually what I do instead. So again, we're taking responsibility and agency for the patterning of thinking that we've created. We're repatterning it. Amazing. All right. So, oh yeah, those two were together. Fantastic. There wasn't, there's a couple questions here about sleep and quality of sleep. They're quite long, the different ones, so I'm going to kind of combine them together. And to my dear friend who I love it, someone submitted a question and submitted their own answers to it. I just want to say you were bang on. Like your thinking through of your own problem is perfect. When we're struggling with dreams in general, and we look at the dream hygiene stuff, alcohol, marijuana, sleeping pills, just understanding that these do dramatically impact our REM. And so, especially in America where marijuana is legal, I would just say for those who do use that, just understand that it completely suppresses your REM, right? So when you're smoking before bed, it's going to be very difficult to have dreams and lucid dreams during those nights that you're smoking. And so what I'd say is like if you feel like that's just something you can't let go of, then you need to make a commitment where it's like, okay, maybe it's 3 nights where you're smoking and 4 nights that you're not, or you really need to be dedicated to your dream dates. If you are, if you're someone who takes sleeping pills or drinks or like any of those kinds of disruptors, and it's just part of your lifestyle, I don't know, maybe you're like a Wall Street chap. I used to be a very, very functional alcoholic as a lawyer, so there's no judgment here. But what I'd say is then you need to go, okay, I need to carve out 2 nights a week, one to just cleanse my body, and then the second night, I'm going to be super committed about my dream date. I'm going to be a little bit more loosey-goosey because I'm during the week, but I'm super committed to that. You have to strike your own balance. But the other thing I just offer is like, we're doing a bigger picture inquiry here. I would just offer the question of when you think about if it's the sleeping pills or marijuana or the alcohol, why are we using them, right? And for most people, it's to relax, the feeling of needing to unwind, the feeling of not being able to fall asleep easily enough. So usually it's something to address something else. And what I would get curious about is could you play with other ways? So when we're carrying psychological stress, but we're not really dealing with it, and then we're using substances to support that, we don't really make any progress because we're just symptom repressing. And so maybe there's a gentle way to say, okay, if I'm drinking or smoking 2 or 3 nights a week instead of 5, those other 2 nights, can I experiment with yoga nidra? Can I do more exercise during the day? Can I do a hour and a half entry into sleep to really unwind myself? You have the skills, you have the tools. You might just need to make the commitment of addressing the root cause of the stress. So, and it's for all of us if we find ourselves, whether it's compulsive scrolling, whatever the pre-bed activities are that can just really, why are we doing this? Am I eating this for stress relief? Am I drinking this for stress relief? We have so many amazing skills available to us to learn how to regulate our systems so that we can have a nice calibrated nervous system and feel free to use things for fun or for choice, but not out of necessity. So for those who are working with that, just to explore that. Um, there are physiological aspects to sleep, but a big part of sleep is also psychological. So you are your own experimenters. Keep playing with the dials. So someone was asking for techniques to help them remember dreams in the middle of the night without having to get up and write them down. Have you tried the dream tagging technique? So this is my favorite one. We've gone through this before, I think, so I'll just very quickly. It's by staying in bed like you would in the morning, catch the dream, associate it with one strong word, and then associate that word. So let's say your dream is about elephants. There were like a whole bunch of elephants in the dream, elephant, 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 elephant. Then tagging that word to something you're going to see in the morning, like toothbrush, elephant toothbrush. So that even if you forget upon waking, when you go to grab your toothbrush, elephant. So that's my favorite way to do it with no writing. It can take a little bit of practice, but once you've got it, you can tag like 3 dreams a night. It's really cool. So I'd say like work with the dream tagging, or you can try, it's a little more perilous, but you can try having the audio recorder. You can play with it. Sometimes we end up having false awakenings and pretend recording. You wake up, you're like, oh shit, where's all the great dreams I recorded? Um, but give those a try. Yeah. And then a discussion, a few people who are saying they don't find their body in the dreams, right? So the challenge, even if you're getting lucid and you're experiencing just a perspective and like not being able to do like a state check or not being sure how to move through the dream if you're just in a disembodied state. So again, these are we're working with skillful relative practice here because in order to get to these sort of experiences of just using perspective, it can be so, so helpful to first build the skills in the dream. So I do recommend if you're new to the practice that first start by learning how to generate a body. Because if you can learn to generate a dream body, you can you can more easily start to build the skillful practices. And at some point you can release the dream body. But it'll be a lot easier to begin with. And then it's a choice, right? It's not like I can't find my body. It's that if you needed to use a dream body, you can. So this comes down to this idea of positive expectation. And actually, this answers a question. There was someone else who asked, what happens if you get lucid, you stabilize the dream, you say you're a syncopa, and nothing happens? So these two link together. This idea of positive expectation is where you are generating enough of a sense of expectation and confidence. You're using the strength of the mind and the imaginative capacity of the mind in order to make something so. This is truly the sorcery of the magic dream, of the lucid dream, right? This is really the ability to take a subtly different perspective and to generate it because the mind is reflected in the dream immediately. So with the body, the couple things you can do, if you feel that you are you get lucid and you just never see your body, practice expecting and generating one. The easiest way to do this for me is like I'll practice this like you do a state check where you practice this. I will practice like if you do this now, we can all do it together. If you just look forward away, you can't really see your body. you're kind of aware it's there because you have the perception of it, but this is just like I'm just like a little perceptory little ball of consciousness. But some part of me knows if I look down, I'm going to see my body, right? I'm sure you feel the same. And so just feel into like, I know if I look down, I'm going to see my hands. And then we'll do it on the count of three. As I go three, two, one, and there they are. Looking up, nothing. Three, two, one. Where's my body? There it is. It's like peekaboo, right? I know it sounds silly, but that's what you can practice. And so when you're in the dream, tapping into that same confidence that when you look down, the body's going to be there because we are generating and creating it. When you learn, like in this stage 5 of dream yoga, generation stage practice, you learn to arise as different forms, arise as the Buddha, arise as some kind of Dakini or whatever you're working with. You do the same thing where you hold the understanding and the positive expectation that as you look down, that's what you are. And so we practice this during the day so that in the nighttime, you don't have the loop, oh no, there's no body in my dream. Where's the body? There's no body, there's no body. Which then the dream goes, there's no body, there's no body, there's no body. You go, huh, okay, cool. I'm in a dream. And three, two, one, there's the dream body. Fabulous. So really, again, learning that you have a surprising amount of agency because of your power of positive expectation. Same with the Sankalpa. If you're working with a dream mission, you're saying a Sankalpa and you're finding nothing's happening. The first thing I check is the quality of my positive expectation. Sometimes I might say something, but some part of me is like, I don't know, like there's still like a question in it. Like, I don't know, what's a good Sankalpa we're working with? You know, pure lands come to me, right? And you're kind of looking around like, maybe somebody out there. So I notice for myself, if I don't feel confident, if I don't have that strong sense of yes when I say my Sankalpa, it can kind of fall flat. So that's one thing. The other thing is language. Sometimes we might use language that isn't quite working. So if you've tried a Sankalpa, but you felt you were strong, tweak the language. Go, okay, maybe asking for, this thing in a certain way didn't quite land. Let me just play with it. So adjust. But the other things you can do is adjust the way you're doing it. So if you're summoning something, for instance, I would love to have known what the Sankalpa is, but if you're summoning something, then if you're just saying it out to the dream and it's not happening, use the technique where you go find a door, expect it to be behind the door, and then open it like that. So, or you could, for instance, if you want to interact with something, a part of yourself, you can first, to expect to find a mirror, turn around, find a mirror, work in the mirror. One of the things, if you're asking questions to the dream world, the dreaming mind, sometimes some people, different for everybody, you can ask the dream will respond. Everyone had, it's different for everyone over time. But I find for myself, for instance, if I want to speak to the dream, I usually find some kind of TV or radio or some kind of communication device, or I summon one. And then I'll ask a question and then turn it on, expecting to hear the response. So this is where you get to be really creative. If like a Sankalpa doesn't work, check the strength of your intention, but then maybe adapt it and think, okay, what are some other ways, thinking like a magician in some ways, that I could structure my mind to feel like this is going to work. Which really brings me to one of the questions I really love here, which is I'm a bit confused about having the goal of having a self in the dream so I can relate and fly, and the aspiration and truth of no self. So this again is one of those things that sits underneath this. I think it's really important to know that while, yes, the absolute truth is that when you're in a dream, it's all you, right? It's all you. Everything around you is made of your mind. Every figure you see is made of your mind, mostly. And and even though you have this kind of relative experience, you're also getting a direct experience of unity and oneness and how apparently separate phenomena are actually connected. And, just like Andrew always says, the only instruction you need to become enlightened is awaken, right? But awaken, if that doesn't work, we have to use skillful means. And so thinking about these practices where we start to, like all the dream yoga practice trainings, where we start to learn how to work with the content of the mind to see through the illusion of a dream, learning how to change our bodies, integrate these kind of separate aspects, all of those experiences that are very much in the relative realm are these skillful scaffolds that help us to eventually find and see and drop into that non-dual truth. But it's a steep thing to it's simple, but it's difficult, right? If it was and so when the simple command doesn't work, if you're not just waking up naturally, that's what the path's for. And so working skillfully in a relative sense isn't in opposition to this idea of, okay, but there is no self. It's really building and integrating and creating a healthy enough experience of relative reality, fully embraced, fully accepted, to allow and open up that experience, right? And I think it's a challenging, it's like those the kind of mind-bending juxtapositions that we have to always hold with these practices around like everything is open and empty, but that doesn't mean it's empty, right? It's that it's so they're the same. They're one and the same. It's the way that we're seeing into and relating and holding it. And doesn't mean that the things in front of us are irrelevant or not meaningful. It's the opposite because there's this complete openness and flexibility. In some ways, relative reality is beautiful, is wholly and completely beautiful and perfect and to be loved. So these are big, I mean, these are things I'm chewing over. I am not accomplished enough to speak meaningfully on that type of truth, but it's something I grapple with too. And as lucid dreamers, like you will be in that exploration. But the skillful relative approach is in harmony with this realization. It's to support the realization. All right, because I got a few more goodies. Oh my gosh, I wish I could. I think I'm going to get through most of them. So there was a request also around working together in a bit more of like a group work and doing more of a buddy system. So one of the things I'm mindful of in groups is that everyone has a different learning style. And I know a lot of people really dislike being put into small groups and have, and I know some people really love it. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me. What I might do next week is, thanks to this person's suggestion, I might offer next week a little bit of time at the end of class for those who want to stay behind, and we can do some small group connections together. But I also just want to offer for anyone who would be interested in having a one-to-one accountability buddy with someone else in the group, maybe what we could do is if you could email me or DM me. So you have someone you can like text with, chat with, have a little bit more of like connected accountability, then I can match make you guys. So if you're someone who feels like, yeah, be nice to have someone I could text my dreams or check in with and have a little bit more of that peer-to-peer support, email me, message me, and I will see if I can match make you guys. And then next week we'll have a little bit of an experiment with a small group chit chat and see how that feels for people. It's a voluntary thing. Um, so next, oh my gosh, this is a big one. How many people here are either work full time or travel? Just put like a yes in the chat. Or like care for people full time. Like you have day-to-day obligations. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, us humans, us busy humans. Mm, yeah. I mean, a lot of us. And I mean, some of us, I mean, I always felt very inspired by those who are here who have more space in your life. Like you've now transitioning out of work and I can't wait for that phase of my life. I'm so excited. But for those of us who are still busy, this question around, you know, struggling to keep up with practices, struggling to keep up with routines, with travel, with, duties, with obligations. So how do we self-regulate when life is hectic or irregularity throws us off rhythm? How to quiet the inner critic when expectations are not met or results are not yet achieved. Yeah. So I think again, this is where, part of the work we did on our belief structures comes into this too, because a lot of us here we are tethered to our achievement. And lucid dreaming can trigger the achiever in us because we have a lucid dream and we're like, oh, I did so good. I'm such a good student. We don't have a lucid dream. Oh, I'm not very good at this. I'm not a good student. I shouldn't bother. Right? These are really common narratives we have. And so, first of all, being willing to just look at what narrative we're holding for ourselves, this idea that I should always be getting this right. I'm falling behind. Ugh, I'm not a good student. What's the point? So, just being mindful of what your own inner narratives and judgments are. And of course, how we work with this kindness, compassion. Actually, the meditation we're going to be working with this week is going to be fantastic for this. But it's really about creating just a foundation of loving kindness with ourselves, right? A sense of humor, uh, grace, forgiveness, spaciousness, playfulness. Uh, Even though this is serious spiritual work, is it? As anything. And so I think I know for myself when I'm traveling, if I'm having a bad run of it, I just don't like catch your thoughts. And if the minute you're judging yourself, just connect to your heart. You can use your compassion response, use loving kindness, whatever you feel is right, and just gently let go of that reasoning. And then the other thing you can do is just say, well, listen, I know I'm going to be traveling. Like I'm about to go to Scotland for 3 weeks. It's gonna be hard for me to do all the things that I would normally do at home. So just commit to doing one small thing. Go, you know what? I'm going to be traveling, but I know that every night before I go to sleep, I can at least say one little opening mantra or prayer. You know, even as I travel, I open myself to inspired dreams. Even as I travel, I open myself to lucidity. If you're on a plane and you're having to do one of those terrible 12-hour, seat sleeps, like what an amazing time to explore liminal dreaming. So maybe just reframing your expectations during busy periods. And I said, like, really set yourself up to win. The truth is with the stuff that, of course, there's momentum. We build momentum, but having a sense of possibility. So even if like there are days where I have done no practices and I'll have phenomenal lucid dreams. There are many days where I do every single practice and have no lucid dreams, right? So just also realizing that like this is cause and effect over time, not day by day by day. Like anyone who's ever done a fitness kick where you're learning about fat loss and muscle composition, if someone's doing that, you won't lose weight. You might be a certain weight. And if you weigh yourself every day, even though you're working out and doing all this whatever stuff, your body weight won't change. That doesn't mean it's not a radical recomposition, right? You're gaining muscle, you're losing fat, but you won't see it reflected on the scale. It's the same with these practices. So even if you're having crazy, chaotic, busy times, as long as you don't shut yourself down and go, well, I have not been good, therefore I'm not going to have any lucid dreams because I'm a terrible student. Instead, be like, hey, dreaming mind, I'm so open to it. I like May tonight on my travels, I have, wonderful experiences and openness around my traveling dreams. Just bring that kind of sense of again, like optimism, openness, curiosity. I think more than anything else, it's like your attitude is super key. Kindness to yourself. Geez, we're so mean to ourselves, eh? So mean. And so then just quickly, a discussion around, oh yeah, the lucidity spectrum. So a question here around, can I say something more about whether you can be more or less lucid? Can you have a partially lucid dream? Is it just on or off? Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So lucidity is a spectrum, and that's why we can have these experiences of like, I think I'm dreaming. Like, is this a dream? Like the pre-lucid state where it starts to come online, you can kind of, yeah, no, no, this is a dream. And then a dream figure might say to you, no, 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 this isn't a dream, honey. Come with me. Oh, I guess this isn't a dream. Ooh. You can be lucid. I am definitely in a dream, but be like, but I'm stuck. I can't move from where I am. So you're lucid, but you're not lucid, 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 right? So yeah, lucidity is a spectrum, which is why the practices we were learning around the brightening of the mind are designed to help increase the lucidity and to stabilize the lucidity so that as you're having these like kind of slight awarenesses, going all the way from you might be in a dream, you don't like how it's going, and some part of you kind of knows it can change it. You don't even say, oh, this is a dream, but you just kind of know. And so you just kind of change what's happening. That's a type of like pre-lucidity, right? So from like a burgeoning awareness to a suspicion that I'm dreaming to a recognition, I think I'm dreaming to like a more solid, yes, I'm dreaming to super lucid, I'm dreaming and the dream is completely open, right? And so because it's a spectrum, even though there's like I'd say that there is like a tipping point, let's say. So if the spectrum has like pre-lucid up to the recognition is the tipping point. The moment where you go, this is a dream. Ah, this is a dream. And that's why saying out loud, I am in a dream. My name is Mia. I am lucid dreaming. As you affirm that and take that perspective more and more, the lucidity is going to really kick in. Because that's like we talk about the brain, like the coming online, going offline, coming online, going offline. We're going to really help solidify it. So if you find that you have lots of kind of semi-lucid dreams, pre-lucid dreams, really practice that type of the brightening of the lucidity. Anytime you suspect you're dreaming with your state checks, really affirming, okay, this is a dream. I am in a dream. I am lucid dreaming. Practicing that during the day so that when you do become lucid, it brightens. It's the same if you're becoming lucid and you can't collaborate with the dream, right? This happens a lot where maybe you have lucid awareness, but you're feeling like you're not able to collaborate. This is because you're not lucid enough yet. You're having like lucidity, but you haven't stabilized it. So practice your lucidity bridge, practice your stabilization. And then when you're able to do that, you'll find with the correct lucidity, whatever obstacle you think you're facing, you see through it. That's not a wall. I'm not trapped by a wall. What wall? Like I can't fly? What gravity? There's no gravity. I'm already flying. So these are the ways that we begin to strengthen and practice it. One more Tony, and then I will, or two more Tony, and then I'll get to you. Um, Super common. I really relate to this one. I have an unhelpful story when I'm feeling zonked in the evening that there's no point in trying to become lucid because I haven't been lucid enough in the day. I'm not conscious enough now for my intentions to work. I get this. And I'm like, how many of us have had this story, right? Like, and I think this is important to realize is that this is where we can go back to the relational aspect of the practice. Ask for help. Just, I mean, this is where you we can call this like the magical lucid dreaming induction style, where you offer up prayers for support. Hey, dreaming mind, help me. Help me tonight to break this pattern of unconsciousness. Help me to wake up out of my sleepwalking. Dream protectors, dream angels, like whatever you work with, like throw up an entreaty for help. Go up beyond the self because the cool thing about these practices is that it's not just up to us. It's not just up to you. We have a pocket of responsibility in terms of our care, our openness, our practices, our honesty, being willing to take accountability for our own minds in that way. But we are working in partnership with something greater than us. So on those nights where you just feel like, oh, just ask for help. Yeah. It's really open instead of forcing. Yeah. And one more on the Tony, then I should get to you. This is emailed in. Such great questions, everybody. Thank you so much for the quality of question. Yeah, so this was, sharing around my dream mission is powerful. It's actually more powerful. It's stronger than my wish to become lucid in a dream, and finding that the dream mission is actually being fulfilled across multiple non-lucid dreams. And so seeing as that lucidity isn't required to complete this dream mission, the question is around, what kind of dream mission should I use? Or if you want to continue the mission as an ongoing experience, what to do if the mission itself doesn't require lucidity. So first of all, it's really cool, I think, recognizing here that when you set an intention to work in the dream space, you really can end up working non-lucidly. So you might have a request for a certain kind of experience, and through dream induction, you might not get lucid, but the incubation, the induction of that dream itself, your mind starts to respond and you're in this incredible dialogue and experience with your mind. I just think it's super cool. I really think valuing our ability to work non-lucidly is important. So what I would say to that person is if you are finding that you're doing that work non-lucidly, maybe your dream mission should be more tailored towards kind of like running a like I did this for a long time too, running like a hypothesis. Because lucidity and being lucid in the mind and being lucid in the dream offers a very unique opportunity to experiment with yourself, the nature of mind, the nature of reality. So what I would do is maybe instead of having a dream mission, which is like, oh, I want to go to this place or meet this person, I would have a question, which might be something like, if I get lucid, I want to explore what happens if I dot dot dot. Or if I'm lucid in a dream, can I dot dot dot? So kind of create a hypothesis. Like the other night, this is so stupid, but my husband and I were having a discussion around feet. Because I mean, feet are amazing. I mean, if you looked at your feet are not that big, and they carry like all of this on little pin. Like we were like, why aren't feet both ways? Like, wouldn't it make more sense to have like a foot that goes forwards and backwards for more stability? So we were trying to design more feet, and so in my dream that night, I got lucid. I was like, I'm gonna make my feet go both ways. And I was like, can I make my feet go both ways? That was the question I was kind of falling asleep to. And so I did. I stretched my foot out and I had a foot going forwards and a foot going backwards. Super weird experience, right? But my curiosity around like what would that feel like or can I do that in a dream was what got me lucid. And so I would say if you're finding you could become like a working more with like a stage two dream yoga approach, which is being really curious about learning about what you can do with lucidity itself and it being this question of being lucid in a dream, what does that empower me to do? Can I see 360? Can I disperse my body? Could I like, make it specific to the skill, the capacity of lucidity itself and see where that goes. Yeah. Yeah, the feet. It was super weird as well because in a lucid dream, I feel like when I create different body parts, you feel them. It's not like they're numb. It was a very odd feeling to have like extra toes. Yeah. Okay, great. Tony, just press the little button, or you have to do charades. It's the other thing. Great. I'm asking you to unmute. You just have to press it. Are you on a phone or an iPad or something? Ah,
There, how's that?
gotcha.
Sable. You just reminded me. I had a dream once where my shoes pointed both ways, and I remember it so vividly. It's crazy. But by the way, I just did a week-long retreat with Andrew from Menla,
Ah, yes, yes, yes,
a
yes.
dark retreat. So between 12 and 12:30, I had to choose between this group or that one. So I chose this one because that was at the very end, and yeah, I'm here. But anyway, when you said a few minutes ago, say it out loud. I guess you mean in the dream, say it out loud, not in your body.
When you're doing the
You said say it out loud, that this is a dream, right? So you start to
yes, yes,
realize this is
yes,
a dream
yes,
and say it out
yes,
loud, but
yes.
you're not saying that in your physical body, right?
No, because you should be fast asleep.
Exactly, yeah. So like, I had this confusion once. I guess I was too awake still, and I'm dreaming and I'm seeing things, but I guess it's more of a daydream. And then I said, "Look at my hands," and then I actually lifted up my physical hand.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
okay, just
so that's the liminal dreaming space, right? Which when we're doing, especially early in the morning, remembering that we tend to dip in and out of REM a lot more flexibly in those last few hours. So you can be in light sleep or the hypnagogic and then in REM and then out. The body is doing this incredible thing, which blows me away, where it's paralyzing you and releasing you and paralyzing you and releasing you. So we can get in these funny moments where you're like in the hypnagogic dream space, and then, yeah, you go to say something or do something, and it actually acts out loud, right? And
Yeah,
also
yeah.
just giving credit for the fact that also some people do when they're dreaming can speak out loud. Like my husband, if he's having a nightmare, will yell, much to my
Mhm.
terror.
Right.
So that can happen as well. But most of the time, like for context, most of the time you're fast asleep. Like I'm in a dream, and I remember once I was in my dream and I was singing so loudly in my dream and I could feel my body vibrating, right? I was like, oh no, I must be yelling in my bed. I bet you I'm gonna wake up. I'm like, and I woke up and I said, did you hear me? Like, he was like, no, you were completely silent. And so when we're properly immersed in the dream environment, even though it's super compelling, like we could really feel the voice, we're good. If you're in a liminal state, it can be, you know,
Yeah.
it just means like let yourself drop more into the dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I hope you had a great time in the retreat. I can't wait to hear more. Amazing. Okay, let me just do a quick check if there was any important questions I missed here. So Adam's question, does generating a dream body expectation only apply to lucid dreaming or also to non-lucid dreams? So, the cool thing is, Adam, and everyone, that positive expectation works no matter what, right? It's just that when we're lucid, we're able to have more awareness about what we're doing. And so the capacity to have a type of strong positive expectation. But you have to understand that if you think about your non-lucid dreams, how they're being generated is through your positive expectation. You are in this co-creative process as strongly in a non-lucid dream as a lucid dream. So when you're in a non-lucid dream, think about like, and we all have examples where we're in a dream and something in the dream starts us suspecting something. We go, wait, hang on a second. That doesn't feel right. That feels dangerous. I feel in fear. And then the dream takes its cue from that. Or the other way around, where we have something happens and we have a positive feeling about it and we start to have this, and then the dream responds to it. So just like the positive expectation is in some ways the fabric of the dance of how the dream world works with us. It is feeling like it is us is it. We're in this responsive echo chamber of our own expectations and thoughts. That's why dreams are so amazing. Non-lucid dreams are so amazing because they're just going to show you what kind of inner dialogue you're kind of experiencing moment to moment, right? And so that the positive expectation works that way. It's just unconscious positive expectation. Most of the time in a non-lucid dream, we're just like in this kind of like unconscious habit. So when it comes to the generation of a body, if you're in a non-lucid dream and you're not really aware and your habit is to not generate a dream body, you won't. For most of us, for most people, we're so used to having bodies, we just by habit generate dream bodies, right? But when you're lucid, you have the capacity to make a decision. So if I want to release my dream body and not have one, I can release my dream body. If I'm finding I've just ended up in the dream with a disembodied perspective and I want to be a body, I can create a body and I can choose what body I want to create. So this is all about brightening our awareness that we have an increased set of choices of collaboration and experience. So that's really cool. Yeah. All righty. So loved this, and thank you so much for your high quality questions. I will make sure we do another session like this as we go, so that we just kind of can consolidate what we're experiencing. But I just say that like wherever we are in our practice right now, just like really celebrate yourself. Even if like this is not about having a lucid dream or not. I mean, I've had clients who I had one private client who was such a sweet soul and worked with me for I think 8 months with no lucid dream before they had their first lucid dream, but was working not to get lucid per se, but because they were aware that their nocturnal dreaming mind was really showing them how they were struggling with just being completely disconnected from their body, from present state, from awareness, right? And 8 months of just like open minded, committed working. And then, lucidity started popping. And I've had people get lucid within 2 days, right? So I just really love where you are and who you are in this moment. Don't compare yourself to what you're seeing people in the chat share. If someone's getting lucid, someone's not getting lucid. This is your own internal journey of transmutation. And just yeah, I just want you to really celebrate the fact that you're here and you're walking this path. That in itself is, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. All right. Well, took a little bit longer than I expected. So let me just feel into how I want to approach this with you. We can still do this. Okay. So the next couple weeks, like I mentioned, we're going to talk a bit about working with our dreams in the context of relationship with others. We've explored relationship with the dreaming mind. We've explored relationship to ourself, our beliefs, our sense of identity. But this such an important part of our lives is how we choose to love people and how we choose to allow ourselves to be loved. And it's interesting. I was talking to Geshe Sonam, who's Bon, a Tibetan Bon monk, and he was sharing with me that one of the things he sees in the West, which was so different from what they experienced in their culture, was that in the West, people have like a lot of attachment disturbance, right? So I think, I mean, there's a million reasons why. A lot of you guys are therapists and psychologists. I'm sure you could put this into better words than I do, but I think for a lot of us, we've had challenges in our early life in terms of how we've been taught to attach to others, to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel both in the relative sense with human beings, but I think there's also like the sense of feeling safe in relationship to the world, right? And so lucid dreaming and dream practice can be an amazing way to work with this. And we can kind of weave together all the things that we've so far explored. And I think especially here, helping to break through the painful, repetitive construction of separation, not just at the kind of, obviously the cosmological everything is one level, but I'm talking even just at the relational community level. If you think about how isolated and alone people have become, and helping ourselves to do practices that really connect us back into the web of interbeing, both, in a actual human to human way, but also first connecting energetically in a way that we feel safe to be connected to other people. This world's pretty crazy. And I think most of us don't feel that safe just opening ourselves up to connecting with people because there's so much out there. So we have to create a perspective and a safety to allow us to have that, that bodhisattva level of like, I will and can be in relationship with others. I can love, I can forgive, I can be seen, I can be generous, I can receive all of it. So we're going to explore that in the next few weeks. So let's just do a quick, I want to do no, actually not a quick, let's do a closed-eyed reflection, probably 15 minutes. So if you want to lie down, please feel welcome to. Otherwise, just find a nice comfy practice seat for this little, we'll do a little closed-eyed reflection around this. Sherry, I like this. I'm going to put up our slide again. How do I choose to love? Such a great question. How do I choose to love? We worked on who do I choose to be? This is the next iteration. Okay. So once you found your comfortable seated or laying position, just going to start by doing 3 deep breaths, and we'll breathe in for 4 seconds. We'll hold it for 6 seconds and we'll release it for 7 seconds just to create a little bit of calming in the body. So breathing in together for 4, holding for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and letting it go. 7, 6, 3, 2, 1. Breathing deep in for 4, Hold, squeeze for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, letting it all go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more deep breath in for 4. Hold and squeeze for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, letting it all go. And just taking a few natural breaths, and just as you're exhaling, just allowing your body again to soften, giving yourself the moment of just peace and grace, dropping any tension between the eyes and the jaw, just letting it all go with gravity into the ground. Just on your next exhale, seeing if you can really release deep below the body into that sense of safety, like really down below the feet, down below where your body meets the seat. Almost like you're reaching down into the safety and the stability of the ground, down into that beautiful, attuned planet that holds us. And then with your next inhale, as you've reached down, really just bringing up that sense of safety, breathing it up into the body. Each inhale, drawing more of that sense of safety and stability. So you feel it's not just a quality of the ground beneath you, but it's a quality of your own being. Your own body, your own mind, your own energy has the safety, has the stability. And just bringing your attention into your heart space, feeling how with your inhale, your heart like a sun expands and shines outwards. And releasing with the exhale, and stays connected and grounded into the earth. Breathing in, warm, shining light of the heart. Releasing, stable, humble connection with the ground. I just want you to bring your attention to the width of your heart. Feeling how when you're breathing out, feeling the heart expanding left and right. This width of the heart being the dimension of the heart that connects us, the dimension of solidarity. As we're breathing in, feeling our heart reaching out to all those other beings in our life that we're connected to. As we release the breath, safely receiving connection from those in our lives. And just allow yourself to take a few breaths here, feeling how the width of your heart reaches out and receives connection. Knowing it's safe to be in connection. It's important to feel connected. to know that you're not just a single little mind. You are part of a unbroken line. You are woven into the fabric of life and into the fabric and the web of all other beings. And when you sit here, you sit not alone, but you sit in solidarity with the people in this group, with all the other sanghas in the world, supported by all the masters and teachers who came before us, supported by all of your own ancestors. Just really allowing yourself to notice how, even if you don't see or feel it, you are always, always in a web of connection. What you think and do has profound ripples and impact on other people, and vice versa. We truly are brothers and sisters. And now just turning your mind to some of the strongest relationships in your life. And those could be dear friendships, mentorships, your family, beloved animals. And just taking a moment to appreciate how you show up in those relationships. What is one way of relating that you're really proud of? Are you a patient person? Are you attuned? Are you listening to people's stories, their desires and needs, their lives? Do you bring joy and playfulness into people's experience? Are you a committed caretaker for a loved one, for a child, for a pet, for a parent? Just appreciating across your life how much goodness you have already given in relationship with others. And just allowing yourself to also see how much love and goodness has been given to you. And bring to mind the face of a being in your life who gives you love, care, attention, interest, friendship, love, whatever you're feeling, just really allowing yourself to appreciate just as much goodness as you've given, that you've also been able to receive goodness. And just knowing and trusting that you already have the blueprints and the foundations, even if it's just been with one being in your life, to have loving connection with. And just releasing that, just going to take a few moments of reflection. And as I ask these questions, just with open-minded curiosity, just see what comes up. No judgment, no right answers. Just curious about what comes up and answer. Just thinking across the relationships in your life. What is a challenge that you have experienced connecting to other people? Have you ever had the challenge of feeling excluded, feeling unsafe? Have you ever had the challenge of feeling unsure, uncommitted? not knowing how to express what you need, feeling like you have to please people, ever feeling like you're too much, not enough. You felt like you had to walk around, make sure you don't upset people, don't inconvenience people. Ever felt unappreciated? Just using your own intelligence, just see, is there any threads or patterns in your relationships that have a way of always popping up? What are the narratives of your life when it comes to the challenges in your relationship? It could be helpful to think of, maybe there's a relationship you have right now that you're experiencing some challenge in. Just knowing that in our relationships are some of the most profound opportunities for us to get the next clue. Incredible mirrors. Just whatever you're finding, whatever is popping up, I'm just going to take just a few moments now. I want you to just put your hand on your heart and connecting into your automatic compassion response. I'm going to take a minute to just repeat that response to yourself out loud if you can, but if not, then just in your head. Staying connected to whatever is popping up, but just really allowing yourself to wrap it in that sense of compassion. We all have patterns in our relationships, and to just be so compassionate and tender with that. So just taking a few moments now, repeating your automatic compassion response. Bringing a little smile to your face as you do it. Allowing your automatic compassion response to evoke those feelings of safety, connection, and power. And then just letting go of the patterns, the beliefs, the relationships in your life, the challenges you're facing, but staying connected to that sense of warmth and safety at the heart. And just inviting you now to bring all of your best qualities into this moment. Really bringing in the qualities of your Bodhisattva self. Bringing in that sense of open-hearted compassion, a real sense of backbone, integrity, and strength, capacity, willingness, patience, perspective, lightheartedness, creativity. Allowing the confidence, the courage, the peace, the inspiration of your heart to just really come online right now. All of your best qualities right here, right now. Taking a really deep breath into all of those qualities, the heart. And then just asking yourself from this place, really sitting as your Bodhisattva self. How do you choose to love people? How do you want to show up with your most intimate partners, your spouse, your lovers? How do you want to show up as a child to your parent as they age or as they pass? How do you want to show up as a caregiver, whether to a parent to a child, or a caregiver to nieces, nephews, beloved pets? How do you take care of those who are younger and more vulnerable than you? How do you choose to be as a friend? Whether you are someone who has one or two close, dear friendships, or if you're someone who sees yourself as a pillar of a community, how do you choose to love your friends? How do you choose to love your community? And sensing into how do you choose to love your society? How do you choose to love humanity with all of its darkness, with all of its perils, with all of its suffering and misunderstanding? In your Bodhisattva heart, how would you choose to love all beings? Can you find a little more forgiveness, a little more patience, a little more understanding, more acceptance? And as a Bodhisattva heart, just feeling into how happy and safe you feel to also receive love from your intimate partners, from your parents, from your children, from your friends, from your community, from your society, from humanity, from all beings. Not just outpouring, not a martyr, but a open heart in balance and reciprocal flow. A golden node in the web of connection, giving, receiving, giving, receiving, giving, receiving. Just taking one last breath here together, deep into the heart and then deep into the belly. And just letting it all go down to the ground. Just staying quiet, just in our own time. Just opening your eyes and reaching for a pen or for something to write on. I just want you to write just, first of all, what came up for you when you were reflecting on your current relationships, both what you were proud of, but also maybe what you're feeling challenged by. Just taking a couple minutes to write down anything that came up for you there. It could be a pattern. It could be something like noticing a pattern of feeling unappreciated or misunderstood, or could be a pattern with partners or with children. Could be an appreciation, a recognition of how beautiful your relationships are. Just whatever came up. And just sensing into when you brought all of your best qualities online, when you felt filled with a little bit more safety, or more compassion, more capacity, and you dreamed into what your relationships might be like, how you might show up. What did you notice? Did it feel a little bit more like you could see the sacredness in others? Feel more capacity to love them unconditionally, to forgive them, or just to feel more secure in who you are and to need nothing from them? Take a few more moments and then we'll, wow, time went so fast. We'll close it up. Hmm. One of the great things about the dream world is that because it is this constructed relative space where we are almost always in some relationship in our non-lucid dreams, our lucid dreams. But the great trick being that because mostly what we're dealing with is ourselves, it's our own minds, we really, it's one of the most powerful ways to learn about our relationship patterns. And obviously, again, realizing that our relationship patterns are ultimately connected to ourselves, just played out through other people. And we see that in real time with the dream in a very explicit way because it's us pretending to hurt us. It's us pretending to love us. It's us, it's the our own little perfect dramas. So this week we're going to continue our practices and we're going to add in the daily loving kindness practice or the Ho'opono practice. I've recorded them for you in the resources to use. The loving kindness practice is about 14 minutes long. I would suggest starting with this one. I'm sure many of you have done this practice before. It is, it's just so powerful when beginning to work with relationship. And I think in terms of, next week we'll go into a little bit more around like the actual attachment wiring and how to explicitly work with that. But for now, to create a kind of foundation of just kindness, compassion, self-forgiveness, forgiveness for others, open-heartedness, loving kindness is essential. So working with that loving kindness meditation every day is my prescription to you. I have also included a shorter, about a 5 minute, 5 minutes, yeah, a long meditation on the Ho'opono prayer. And as you guys know, this is my compassion response. And for those who are familiar with a little bit about how this Ho'oponopono prayer has been used, this is the English translation of a Hawaiian prayer. This prayer was really used in order to help rebalance and restore relationship. And there's some incredible studies on how it impacts people, even from a distance, right? Super interesting. And so this one is 5 minutes. I've included this if you want to work on something, especially if you have a relationship right now or a situation or an issue with yourself where you feel like there's challenge. It's incredible for transmuting whatever whatever's in the field connected to that relationship. And just a couple words about it because the prayer itself is I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. And people often ask, well, what if I haven't done anything wrong, right? Like what if it's like someone who's done something to me? I don't want to say I'm fucking sorry, forgive me. Like, right? Which I get. Think about this instead about this isn't you, Alex, or you, Kiara, or you, Tony, or you like this is you sitting as the Bodhisattva self, being able and having the capacity to give these other beings who are also you what they were not given. The I'm sorry isn't a relative I'm sorry. It's the I'm sorry they never heard when they were a 2-year old experiencing something terrible. The forgive me was the forgive me they never heard. It's the thank you was the thank you they never heard. The I love you was the I love you I never heard. This is a restorative practice. This is you choosing to get out of your own personal bullshit and sit as a wider connected heart and to give to all beings, including yourself, what was not given. So this is it's a bigger practice. It's why it's so beautiful. And so when you do this, sit, it's like this, I've added a little preamble to kind of create a little bit of the heart, but it's beautiful. So if you're feeling a challenge with yourself, with another, you could use the Ho'oponopono prayer. The loving kindness prayer will also, the meditation will also take you through that because you'll work with someone you love, yourself, a neutral person, and a difficult person. So we're at least once a day, choose one of those to work with and run it like an experiment because I mean I see the impacts of this so strongly when I'm like really committed to these practices, how the relationships in my life just blossom and change without me doing anything. It's a really fun little experiment. If you're having challenge with someone, do the Ho'oponopono prayer on them for like 2 weeks and don't change anything else. Just see what happens. See what happens. The other thing this week is to pay extra attention in your dreams to what they're showing you about relationships. So this week, as you're doing your dream journal, I want you to especially think of like, what are the relationship dynamics that I'm seeing in my dreams? Good or bad, right? Being really curious, like, I notice in my dreams that I'm really confident and I'm surrounded by people I love. Cool. Or I'm noticing in my dreams that I'm at these parties and like someone's being a little, there's always like someone being a little bit mean or judgmental to me, or I'm feeling a little excluded, or just notice curiously, tracking like what do your dreams show you? I mean, I've shared with you guys, I'm sure before, but so many times my non-lucid dreams have shown me where I am out of integrity in my relationships. Usually, if I'm not saying something, with my mother, I was trying to like not hurt her feelings, right? So the classic, keeping it all inside, and then having dreams where, I'm lashing out at her or I'm being passive aggressive to her because I have this like built up resentment. And then, of course, in waking state, when I take the time to have like a loving, open conversation with her, those dreams move on. So just being curious, like what are the non-lucid dreams showing you? I would also like to invite you, if you want to, if you feel called to update your dream mission to explore something in the thematics of relationships, you're welcome to. So something in here, you're like, you know what, actually, yeah, I'm noticing that you're seeing a certain pattern. What I would just say is if you want to work with your relationships and your lucid dreams, instead of being like, oh, I want to summon this person and deal with them, ex-boyfriends, Oh, I remember when I went through my last breakup before I got married. Oh boy, did I want to summon him and get resolution. But what I really needed to do, and what I ended up doing, was looking at like, what's the part of me that needs to be healed? Because like there was a part of me that felt like it was all internal. And so what I would encourage you to do is to think, even though it's coming up in relationship, it's coming up as a mirror to show where we might need more self-compassion or where we might need to be more self-validating, right? We might need to strengthen our own sense of self-esteem and self-worth to be able to draw the boundary we need to draw or to not feel like we have to, we're responsible for other people's happiness. So if you want to work with a relationship one, I'd have you sit down and just ask, you know, in that dynamic that you're working with, what is it that you can take accountability for? What's the shadow or the wound or the inner child that needs to be loved, and to summon that, work with that. It's it's better because otherwise we're kind of like we're just dealing with symptoms versus like what's really sitting underneath it. So that's optional. Just if you're feeling like lit up by the relationship thing. Yeah, so let me just show you really quickly so you're all feeling good to go. So here we go. Yep. So pay close attention to what your dreams reflect about connection with others, emotions, dynamics, recurring, update your dream mission. So now dream journal, as always, but with a specific focus on relationship insights. Keep up your state checks, keep up the dream mission review, lucidity induction. And then I just say, like, for this week, we're going to add in this meditation practice. You can do it anytime. I like to do it in the morning because most of my meditation practice is in the morning, but also it just changes my approach to the day. I find that doing some loving kindness or the Ho'oponopono prayer before going into my day improves, dramatically improves how I choose to show up and love other people. So, uh, your choice, but I recommend that. I'm going to add a music version, and these are two no music versions. I couldn't find music I liked yesterday, so I spent like 2 hours looking for songs, and I was like, oh, none of this is love inducing. So I'll have the music versions up by the end of the day. Um, Fabulous. So for those who have to jump off, please do. But I just wanted to open up for 5 minutes if there are any questions about the practice for this week or about relationship, anything like that. Still bien? Oh, we got one. Theo. One second.
Hear me?
There we go. Yes, I got you.
Awesome. Um, I again, thank you so much. I actually arrived a bit late because I got the time change wrong, but another beautiful session. I wanted to just share that something very interesting in that I still haven't, and I don't have an expectation around the fact that I haven't experienced a lucid dream, but I am dreaming more and I'm journaling more and I'm feeling a really nice sense of ease with my dream life. But what's so wonderful and peculiar is how I'm feeling during my day practice. It's almost as if, well, no, it's clear that my night practice has strengthened my day practice.
Yeah.
And yet, in that, my reality checks during the day are you actually questioning deeper whether where I am. And I'm curious, like for someone who, even though I hear you say not to be hard on myself, I'm just curious. Um,
Well, how did your dream date go? How was it with the dream date?
Well, the dream, I didn't do an actual wake up in the middle of the night. I've gone through a pretty difficult period of time these past few weeks, um, which I won't share, but only just didn't feel that it was the right time
Yeah.
for
So
me.
then what
Yeah.
I'd say is it sounds like if there's other things in your system, just stay where you are. Like
Mhm.
you're smart. You're like if you feel like, for instance, you weren't at capacity to do a dream date because of other things, just relax. When you feel like there's an opening, go back to that dream date and start doing that. Those are the lucidity induction practices that are going to
Yeah.
create enough fire to do
Yeah.
this. But
Mhm.
until you feel, and I think you should pay attention to what you're feeling. Wait
Mhm.
until you feel like I have some excitement, some space, and some capacity for a nighttime adventure,
Yes.
right? And then when you've
Yeah.
got that, it'll click in,
Mhm.
build a beautiful dream date, do the wake up, and then see what happens.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Great, because I feel I my motivation and my intentionality is there, I can't help but feel maybe not discouraged, but I feel what's a curiosity around this? What's up
Yeah,
here?
no, sure. And if you missed the beginning, the first part of this class today, we actually just talked a lot to this because it's a
I'll just the
there's a
recording.
lot of no, because it's natural. It happens to all of us, and it's in solidarity. What I would just say is that we have to be both patient with ourselves in the sense of just there is the part of just having it work in the system. But there's also like if you're coming here and you're feeling discouraged, but you haven't done a dream date, that's like if someone wanted to work out, they're like, yeah, I really want to lose weight. But have you been exercising? No, not at all. Have you changed your diet? No, 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 but nothing's working, right? So
Yeah.
just knowing as well, like, and it's fine because in
Mhm.
this moment doesn't make sense to do it. But feel encouraged because it's not like you've been doing it all and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
This is
No, no,
like
no. On the
no,
contrary.
yeah,
I'm
and
feeling
but
other things.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just like we're in this flux of life. What I would just say is like maybe plant the seed for yourself of like, ooh, it'd be really nice to do a dream date. I'm going to plant the seed and then I'll know maybe sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks there'll be a good moment and
Mhm.
make it really luxurious. And even if you can't do the full wake up, start with the baby wake back to bed, which is in that
Mhm.
description. Like
Yeah.
do like make the night special, do the pre-entry into sleep practice, and then do like the baby wake back to bed first. Like just
Great.
yeah, just play with it.
Thank
You've
you so
got
much.
this. Yeah, of course.
Okay. I trust in my dream world. Okay.
You
Bye.
do, you do. We can all, and like I
Yes.
said, we're like, where are we going? We ain't going
Mhm.
nowhere.
Okay.
Amazing. All right, friends. Oh, Sophia, I'll just quickly answer you. Yes, I've had multiple lucid dreams where I found Yoda, and this is an awesome example of me not taking my own advice because I get so emotional when I see him. So I get lucid. I call to be taken to him. I see him and I get so emotional upon seeing him that I end up like holding him and petting him and part of my dream mission is like, you know, if you're looking to summon and work with an actual being, like not just a projection of your mind, there's a couple practices you have to do to check that you're not just working with a projection of your mind, you're actually working with the being. I just get so overwhelmed that like I keep not doing it. I keep like every time I see him, I'm like, I just hold him and love him and tell him to come home. But I haven't had kept the my groundedness enough when I've seen him to ask and to clear the mind of mental projections and to see if it's actually his spirit versus a projection. So I'm working on it. I'm doing daytime rehearsal this week so that because I've done it like 5 or 6 times now. I'm like, oh my God, I wake up, I'm like, Mia. How do you do that? So Pamela, this is a great question. If you want to check if something that you're working with in a lucid dream is a projection of your own mind, which is 99.99% of the content, or if it's something from the collective, another spirit, another being, whatever. One of the ways is when you're working with that to say to the dream, you know, everything that is created by my mind, clear. And like you clear it out. And like if you do this in a dream, like often I'll end up just in a blank space and I'm like, oh, oops. But sometimes, like I once did, not to freak you guys out, who knows? This is just fun anecdotal stories. But once I did it in a crowd, I was like in a busy crowd and I was like, oh, and I did it. I said, everything that's a projection of my mind, out, clear. And then like everything cleared except for like two random dream figures. And they like looked at me and I looked at them and they just disappeared. And I was like, huh. I was like, I just imagined like some random entities were just like having a party in my dream, and then they were like, oh dear. So you can clear it like that. You can also, of course, like do confirmations with the being itself. If you're interacting with like a past loved one, it's pretty clear. Like when you start talking to them, you can tell pretty quickly. A cat I haven't tried yet, so I'll let you know. I'm going to try the same thing with Yoda. I'm going to clear them. I'm going to clear the construction, see if he stays, and then ask. So I'll let you know how it goes. Wonderful, my friends. Have a beautiful week of practice. Again, shoot me your questions anytime, and I will see you next week, next Sunday. All right. Take care, everyone. Ciao, ciao.